You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, hosted by Joey and Holly Baird.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is on the air, and it's heard on WNOV 860 AM and W293CX 106.5 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, WWDB 860 AM in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WAAM 1600 AM and 92.7 FM Ann Arbor, Michigan, and KMET 1490 AM Banning, California. Coming up on the program today, we're going to talk about life under the soil. All that stuff that we don't always see. Plus food storage without canning. And our guest from Epic Gardening, Kevin Espiritu, will be with us. Plus your garden questions. The hour's packed, so let's start it right now.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. So glad you've taken time out of your day to join us on the program, whether you're in Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Southeast Michigan, Banning, California, or tuning in via the Simple Radio app, the TuneIn app, or through the website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the radio tab for podcast replay or in-studio video replay. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
You can find all of our content at that WisconsinVegetableGardener.com website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, where there's over 1,400 garden videos, short and long format, of in-studio and in-garden content. The executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is Power Planter.
Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you. Create planting holes fast and efficiently with ease. No matter the soil type, it does its job effortlessly. Increase your root to soil contact. Leave the shovel and the spade in the shed. Hand welded and made in the USA, and we offer a lifetime warranty on product defects. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com.
You can get a hold of us in a variety of different ways. They all revolve around the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard hotlines.
IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces, for use on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic. For more information, you can visit ivorganics.com. You can send us an email through the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard email inbox. That email address is twvgshow@gmail.com. You can also send us a text on the Instant Access IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Instant Access text hotline. Send your questions via text to 414-368-9311, 414-368-9311. And again, anytime during the show, 414-444-5250.
It's the 90th show of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio program. We've been behind these microphones at the conclusion of this program for 90 hours. And you can find all of those programs on your favorite podcast providing website, as well as documented under the radio tab and season 1 and 2 tabs under the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Every program's content-based with a guest and your garden questions that we answer.
That's kind of amazing.
90 shows, and we keep going. So let's talk about a topic of life under the soil. There is a lot of things that are under the soil that we do not see and never will see, for the most part, if we do not use a magnifying glass or a microscope in order to see the tiny and sometimes unidentifiable items and organisms that are beneath the soil.
Well, yeah, that's correct. And your soil is actually a living, breathing organism, basically. Especially in your backyard. And the soil, what is underneath the soil is made up of layers. So there's the organic upper layer, which is of humus and topsoil. And then there's the underlying layers, the rocky layers. So that's like subsoil, regolith, and bedrock. So that's, and then once you go beyond that, there's more. But this is kind of probably as far as you could dig deep down within reason.
And based on the conditions of the soil in your garden or your region, it will dictate how thick those horizontal layers are that are beneath the soil. So that would determine whether or not you have to add more material in order to get a base for growing plants in your garden, as we're talking about it today. There are more microorganisms in one teaspoon of soil of healthy soil, that is, then there are people on the earth, millions and millions of species and billions of organisms in 1 teaspoon of soil.
That's a lot.
So so you can tell how microscopic and how beneficial these items are for the life of everything else that we establish in the world.
Right, and a lot of that life is just like extremely tiny microorganisms. So it's anything from small little cell-sized microorganisms to larger ones, to things like worms, fungus. Fungus is something that helps with the decomposition process, and then other little like the good nematodes that we talked about a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of different things.
Healthy soil is a living organism. Soil is sand, silt, clay, air, water, minerals, organic matter, and crawling with earthworms, moles, grubs, caterpillars, centipedes,
millipedes, slugs, all sorts of things.
Yes.
So basically, like stuff you can see, potato bugs or
mushrooms are good for the soil. An average soil sample is 45% minerals, 25% water, 25% air, and 5% organic matter. That organic matter is important for the life of the plants in which we are trying to grow. In the wild, in nature, the forest drops the leaves, which falls to the forest floor, and all of these creepy, crawly microorganisms, all these tiny things, break down that material to create organic matter to feed the life of the forest, the trees, and all of the plants that live there.
So let's talk about worms for a second.
All right.
Worms are vital to your soil life.
They're the most visible items.
Well, right.
And most recognizable item in soil.
Right. And they are very vital, though, to your soil life. If you want to have a nice, healthy soil.
You want to have something grow.
To breathe to
organically,
feed your plants.
Yeah.
So worms are amazing because they can go from your topsoil down to 8 feet below, and then they circle those nutrients around. They also won't overpopulate themselves, so if you feel like you have too many worms in your garden, you do not. And that's not a problem. Anyway, if you have a lot of worms, you definitely want a lot of worms. What are some ways we can attract worms to our garden?
We can add organic matter, leaves, shredded leaves, regular leaves, compost, coffee grounds, chemical-free, seed-free grass clippings. And we don't necessarily, and it's not recommended to till that material in. What we can do is we can layer it on top and allow nature and those microorganisms to begin to break it down, and the worms will come to the surface and feed on that material and take it beneath the soil level.
Right. So that's exactly it. One earthworm will produce up to 1/3 pound of waste, or of worm castings or
manure.
Worm poop, worm manure, per year. So just one tiny little worm is going to create 1/3 of its own waste, and that is very vital to your garden.
It is important that we keep healthy soil, and there's a couple of ways in which we can do that and allow the soil to continue to produce for us, or in a nature native setting. One, reduce tillage of the soil. This exposes the soil to the atmosphere, also disrupts a lot of the soil microbial life, the tunnels and the pathways in which these insects and microscopical organisms have created. And it's just like taking your house, shaking it all up, flipping it upside down and going, okay, now live there. That's essentially what is occurring when we're disrupting the soil. Yes, there is some soil disturbance which has to be performed at certain times of the year, or over a period of time. If we want to plant root crops or plant a plant, we have to dig up a certain amount of soil in order to get that plant in the ground. But overall tillage of the soil is, we want to do it minimally. And if we do it as we do in our garden, we use a garden fork, so we're not we're removing the roots of the weeds, and also aerating the soil to a certain degree, but we're not pulverizing the soil to a powder like a mechanized machine would, and then the whole system has to restart itself or reboot itself in order to develop the healthiness in which the soil had prior to you going in there with that tiller and digging it all up. We can increase the soil and health by increasing organic matter. We've talked about what we can do to add organic matter to the soil. We can use cover crops in areas which nothing is growing in our garden. That will help hold on to the soil, help feed the soil to a certain degree, but also reduce erosion from the area in which is being vacant for the time being. Or if you have a bare spot in the yard, we want to plant grasses there to reduce the erosion.
I think that's important, especially with the amount of rain we've had this past year. A lot of those nutrients, if you have a bare spot, it's going to get washed away quickly.
And erosion happens additionally with air too. The big dust bowl, things dry, the wind catches that soil, that topsoil, and removes it. So that's another way in which we can help create and hold on to the healthy soil that we are trying to grow in or just want to have. Reduce pesticides and use them sparingly if need be, but the pesticides hurt the beneficial organisms in the soil. That's why we look for and use products such as BioSafe, which is an organic weed killer, not something that has glyphosate in it, in order to reduce the amount of issues that we have with the soil and the soil web.
Another good thing to keep in mind is, to rotate crops, move your crops around.
To a degree.
To a degree.
Now, in the big ag industry, yeah, they do that. But for our backyard gardens, we don't necessarily have to do that, asterisk here, if we are including new organic matter into that particular garden bed area or raised grow bed or container. Because if you take an 8-foot by 4-foot raised bed that's 32 square feet, and you introduce a 20% new material, you top that bed off, you're adding 20% new compost, whether you buy it or you've made it, you're reintroducing and revitalizing that soil. You don't have to mix it in. We just layer it on top, and the water and the insects and the microbial life will drag it into the base of that bed. So you could replant tomatoes in that bed multiple years over and over again because you're continually topping off that raised bed with basically new soil every year. So you don't necessarily on a small scale need to rotate as heavily or at all as we would on a large agricultural scale.
Right. So that's very important to know. But also, I think if you have issues with pests in certain areas, maybe you want to move that crop
the
next year, things like that. Not necessarily in this case for the benefit of the soil, but it makes sense for the overall health of your garden at times.
Absolutely. We need to identify problems and reduce those issues when we see them by rotation of crops. Also, adding nutrients, being careful how we fertilize our plants and don't over-fertilize. Use the recommended rate on the back of the package. That's why it's there. But there's a lot of things under the soil that we do not see. And
I think that's the important part is to consider, is that when you spray your plants with something that's non-organic, you're not just necessarily spraying that plant that's going to get into the soil, that's going to get into the waterway, that's going to, your soil is a living organism, and that's important to keep in the back of your mind.
And if you go online and search life under the soil, you will find many different images of things that you and we did not know existed, but it all ties into the overall health and premise of why plants grow is because those organisms break down material in order for the plants to uptake for us to eat the plants in which we are growing or people are growing for us. So that's just some of the kind of very, very small deal when it comes to what's under the soil. It's kind of difficult to describe some of the items in which you may see in the soil. So we've got to take a break, but moments from now, don't go anywhere, we are going to talk about canning or storing food without canning. You got a bunch of produce you bought or you don't want to can it, we're going to cover that. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Do not go anywhere.
Got a question? Email the show at twvgshow@gmail.com.
Beans and Barley Market and Cafe, a neighborhood specialty grocery store for the East Side and greater Milwaukee area, where you can find all you need, from fresh produce to bakery to organic frozen dinners, from wine to fresh squeezed carrot juice, a health food store with hundreds of products, vitamins, supplements, bath and body items, magazines, cards, books, and a knowledgeable staff. Catering available, open daily at 8 a.m. The restaurant serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week with a menu of good, healthy, homemade food, including vegetarian and non-vegetarian specialties. 1901 East North Avenue, Milwaukee, 414-278-7878, and online at beansandbarley.com.
Do you want fresh produce delivered right to your neighborhood? Check out Tree Ripe Citrus Company. Find out where to pick up quality produce at tree-ripe.com. They have beautiful, tasty peaches and juicy, sweet blueberries. If you're tired of the non-taste peaches and the bad blueberries from your local grocer, Tree Ripe has what you need. They come right to a stop in your neighborhood, fresh off the truck, right from the source. To find locations and schedules, visit tree-ripe.com. They're in Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, and right here in Wisconsin. Tree-ripe.com is your go-to place for the freshest produce around. Shield and Seal Vacuum Sealers and the highest quality vacuum sealing products, unique black and clear and all black bags, protecting your produce and product better than traditional bags. Find out more at shieldandseal.com.
The Handy Safety Knife is a patented high-quality knife that's worn like a ring, so it's always conveniently at hand and very easy and efficient to work with. That's why you'll find the Handy Safety Knife at work in a wide range of industries and applications. Learn more at handysafetyknife.com.
Use coupon code WVG to get 10% off and free shipping, one-time use only at handysafetyknife.com. Flame Engineering, home of the Weed Dragon, the perfect propane torch kit for home and garden use. For killing weeds, no need to pull or spray. 100 other uses. Find out more at flameengineering.com. Use coupon code WVG19 to get free shipping. If it's wilted, it still may be okay. This garden tip is sponsored by BioSafe, organic solutions that are effective. They offer an array of eco-friendly products, from plant food to fertilizer to one-of-a-kind herbicides, organic weed killer. Grow stronger, healthier with BioSafe. Visit biosafe.net to learn more and save 10% on your next order by using coupon code TWVG at checkout. Many plants will wilt in the hot sun even if the soil is moist. Check the plant's moisture level in the morning and evening. If the plant is still wilted at that particular time, look closer. You may have a larger problem of insect or disease.
Do you seek safe, effective nutrition solutions to boost your health and quality of life? Standard Process is your trusted whole food supplement manufacturer with 90 years of expertise. Our third-generation family-owned company proudly grows nutrient-rich ingredients at our certified organic farm in Palmyra, Wisconsin, enabling us to produce high-quality whole food solutions that change lives. For help identifying the best supplements for you, find a local healthcare professional today at standardprocess.com/patients.
Feed your garden all season long with the Hydro Feed Fertilizer Injector by Chapin. Hydro Feed Injector can be filled with water-soluble fertilizer and connected to a garden hose or irrigation system, whether drip, sprinkler, or soaker hose. Fertilizer is drawn into the water system at a consistent ratio to feed and water your garden at the same time. 3 models are available for gardens of different sizes. Find Hydro Feed at the Home Depot, Ace Hardware, or www.chapinmfg.com.
When it comes to bulk landscaping materials, Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center is where everyone goes. Whatever the project, we have the materials you need with over 40 varieties to choose from. Soils, mulches, gravels, decorative stones, fresh cut sod. Blue Mills has these products in stock and ready for easy pickup or fast delivery. So what are you waiting for? Now is the time to get your yard back into shape. Stop in and pick these materials up or call us for delivery today. Nobody does bulk landscaping materials better than Blue Mills Garden and Landscape Center.
Blue Mills, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Ivy Organics, Power Planter, Root Assassin, Beans and Barley, BioSafe, Bobex, Pomona Universal Pectin, Pro Plugger, Standard Process, Tomato Snaps. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Dr. Earth is committed to clean and healthy gardening and creating cutting-edge, natural, and organic garden-friendly products. Based on research and innovation, after 28 years, they are the leader in organic and garden lawn industry. They do not use ingredients such as biosolids or composted household waste or synthetic chemicals. Instead, they have manure-free fertilizers, organic soils, insect control, and liquid fertilizers. If you want to grow the best quality food organically to feed your family, that is the founding principles of what Dr. Earth is all about. They have experts to find the most innovative ways to help you grow your best organically. Visit drearth.com for more information and where to buy.
Whether we're growing our own produce using Dr. Earth fertilizer or Dr. Earth potting soil, or we go to our farmer's market and purchase produce in volume for very few dollars, we want to store it in some form or fashion. Maybe you choose that, decided that you do not want to go the route of preserving your produce by canning, whether by water bath canning or by pressure canning. But there are other means in which we can preserve what we've purchased or grown because we want to save it for the winter months, or we want to just buy in bulk and save that way as well. So there are some ways in which we can store our food without canning. So what are some of these ways, Holly?
Sure. So I guess something you can definitely think about how it's stored or how it's sold in the store. So maybe you go through the freezer section, you're like, I don't want to can, but I do want to freeze. I have the capacity to freeze. Maybe you would deep freeze, whatever. So then you would look and think, okay, I want to freeze XYZ. And if you go to the store and it's frozen, typically that means you can freeze it yourself.
That's corn, that's peas, that's green beans.
Broccoli.
We only freeze green beans because we just cannot get a when we can it, we do not like the texture that it provides for us.
It's not quite mushy, but it's not.
It doesn't have that crisp that we normally get in the can.
So that's another thing is maybe to think about is if you've had home canned green beans and you don't care for them or whatever, then perhaps maybe freezing is an option for you.
Leafy greens. Like kale, we freeze that. We blanch it and freeze it.
And there's some things you shouldn't can, like broccoli. Or if you wanted to do like a potato puree.
Well, you can do broccoli. We get that in the bag. You have to blanch it until
you freeze it.
Yeah, you freeze it, right? But you
that's
don't.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to can it. So that's another thing to think about.
Another thing, soups and juices you can freeze. On that as well. Yes.
Okay, so root crops store well in a fridge. So they also do cool storage. So what you want to do is you want to think about a root cellar situation where it's going to be cool, a little bit of humidity, but not much, and away from direct sunlight.
If you have a basement or under a crawl space, root, that type of thing. Some people do devise a mini root cellar in their backyard. They actually physically dig down 4 or 5 feet and they create a little roof on it. There's some really interesting videos on how to do that. But what you're mimicking is, again, those plants thinking they're still underground and prolonging their edible consumption life.
Another thing is when you're doing root crops is to leave that dirt on them.
Yes.
You want to inspect. You do want to inspect the produce to make sure there's no dings or dents or rot, but you want to leave that dirt on them so that it helps create a barrier, extra layer.
It's amazing if you have a carrot that you've cleaned and a carrot that you've left dirt on, and you leave them alone in that. Let's say just a refrigerator, for example. How much more quickly the carrot that is cleaned dehydrates and disappears and shrivels than the one with the dirt that has that small layer of protection on it.
Another thing is that if you do purchase something from the farmer's market, especially if you're purchasing a lot of it, it's good to talk to the farmer. They would possibly have that information.
They will talk to you.
They will talk to you. They'll talk to you forever if you let them sometimes.
Yes, yeah.
So you definitely want to, you could definitely speak with them about that, especially if you're buying a bulk item and you're like, I want to store this, I don't want to can it, I don't want to do XYZ, what do you recommend? And they've typically had that knowledge, experienced that knowledge in their own lifetime and probably been told by their elders how to deal with some of this stuff.
And the other thing is they may say, hey, you see that booth four sections down? That's Betty. She does a lot of that. Go talk to her. She'll know how to do that.
Farmers talk to farmers.
Yeah, teachers talk to teachers. Same thing. That's the whole deal there. What's our next way in which we can store without canning the produce that we are getting?
So you kind of alluded to this earlier. If you're making stock, a soup, a puree, etc., even pasta sauce, to freeze, you want to freeze it. You want to be smart about how you're going to store it. So either like you put it into a zipper top bag, freezer bag. You want to store it flat, or maybe you want to make it into cubes, or you want to use freezer jars. But something that you can be smart about in the portions, because at some point you're going to thaw it and eat it, and you don't want to fill up a 2-gallon bag of pasta sauce and then
when
have
you
to
need
thaw
2 cups.
when you need 2 cups. So you want to keep that part in mind.
When using freezer jars, we've had difficulty, even when filling at the proper height or amount, that they will break, they will crack. So we're still fiddling around with that. The best way to maximize the space, and the Europeans do this because they have very small places that they live, from what videos that I've seen, allotment growers, they will take a cardboard juice container or milk container and cut it about 3/4 of the way off. So you just have the bottom cube. They'll put a Ziploc bag in there, pour their liquid in there, seal it up, put it in the freezer, let it freeze, and remove that cube, and then stack those cubes up like blocks in the freezer, so they can maximize the space that they have available to store their for their frozen liquids and juices and stock for later use.
Right. So that's definitely something to think about. Potatoes, and I think you could do this with other root crops, but with potatoes, you can nestle them in shredded paper in a cardboard box with holes, and that will help. And you want to leave the dirt on if you harvest them yourself, the dirt knocks off a lot of potatoes, but
don't scrub it purposely.
Yeah. And then you can put them in, again, a cool place. Potatoes do like some humidity. You do not want to store your potatoes in the fridge. What happens when you store your potatoes in the fridge is it changes the sugar content of that potato.
And it tastes nasty.
And it tastes gross. And it actually increases the carbohydrates in it. So, trust me, you're getting enough carbohydrates. You don't need to store your potatoes in the fridge and add more to your life.
If you're storing them in the basement, do your best to avoid storing them on a shelf elevated. If you can, put them right on the concrete floor, because that concrete emits a lot of coolness and chillness to those potatoes, and you'd be amazed of how much longevity you get out of potatoes sitting in a cardboard box versus on the concrete floor versus elevated on a shelf, if at all possible. That's what you want to do on that particular level. And you can consider vacuum sealing is a way of reducing, and you can do this without actually having a vacuum sealer. You can spend money and buy one that extracts all the air.
A rummage sale.
Yes, or you can use a straw in a Ziploc bag. So briefly, explain that procedure. It's not going to get 100% of the air out, but it does reduce a tremendous amount of oxygen.
You don't even necessarily need a straw. If you have something that's more solid or dense, and you just take it and you fold the top of the Ziploc bag over, squeeze all the air out, leave yourself like an inch at the top, squeeze all the air out, you're going to get a lot of air out of that bag. I do it all the time.
Air is the enemy.
Air is the enemy, especially humidity. Humidity is also the enemy. That's what makes your food go stale. So you could do it with a straw, too, if you want. I would not recommend doing the straw method with a liquid.
No.
But you would want to just suck the air out with a straw, close that zip top bag, leave about, straw width, put the straw in there, suck the air out, and removes a lot of the air.
And there's your ways of canning without actually, or storing food without actually canning. Well, Holly, now's the time. The weather is warmed up. It's hot outside, and we want to protect our garden from the various beetles, weevils, borers, and those annoying Japanese beetles that are devastating everything in our garden.
And what better way to prevent those pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granular product that can be spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only certain scarab pests and is safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
Yes, if you already have beetles flying around your yard and eating the vegetation on your plants, Beetle Gone is the organic water dispersible powder that can be sprayed directly on your edible plants. Find out more at PhylumBioproducts.com. That's PhylLLOM products.com. It's a phenomenal product. It works, and it does not kill the butterflies, the bees, the beneficial insects in your yard. Don't go anywhere. Moments away from now, we'll be talking with Kevin Espiritu from Epic Gardening. You're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
Use Twitter to reach Joey and Holly at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG.
Power Planter is a family-owned earth auger manufacturer. The Power Planter earth auger will transform your garden experience. It helps homeowners and professionals complete almost any planting or digging project faster and more efficiently than using a shovel or a spade. Power Planter earth auger creates loose dirt when drilling holes, giving your plants better root-to-soil contact to help reduce plant loss for healthier, more beautiful trees, shrubs, flowers, vegetables, and grass. All of our augers are hand-welded and made in the USA, lifetime warranty. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com. Pomona's Universal Pectin is high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar, honey, or any alternative sweetener you'd like. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Available at most natural food stores and online.
The Norwalk Juicer is the best cold-pressed juicer on the market. Studies have shown the Norwalk Juicer produces 50 to 100% more juice than other juicers. And juice from the Norwalk is higher in minerals and nutritionally superior. Not only do you get more juice from your produce, but also better quality juice. Check it out at norwalkjuicers.com. Use coupon code GARDENTALK to get free continental U.S. shipping on the Model 290 juicer.
Root Assassin, a garden tool that does all the root functions with its advanced shovel that has serrated edges on both sides. Find out more information at rootAssassinShovel.com. Garden seeds do not have to cost a fortune, just 99 cents at migardener.com. Now with over 450 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, and organic flower, vegetable, and herb seeds available year-round. Pay less and get more seeds. Shipping as low as $2.50. That just makes sense. Go to migardener.com for seeds and garden needs, tools, and special blend fertilizers. migardener.com. It's that simple. Family owned and operated.
Never question your garden soil again. Know what's in your soil with confidence. Professional grade soil test for the home gardener. My Soil Savvy has the easiest soil test on the market. Ship it to them, get your report, emailed with nutrients recommendation, and grow happy, healthy plants. MySoilSavvy.com. Use coupon code TWVG19 and save 10% at checkout.
Here at Outpost Natural Foods, it's not just that we're community-owned that sets us apart. It's the fabulous foods we sell. We celebrate Earth Day every day by offering our customers the finest natural and organic food selections in Greater Milwaukee. Outpost local farmers and vendors provide our stores with a delicious selection of fresh seasonal produce that you won't want to miss. Outpost stores are located in Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, Bayview, and Mequon. We're a real Milwaukee original where anyone can shop and anyone can join. For the whole scoop about Outpost, we invite you to visit www.outpost.coop.
Do you can? Do you want to can? Not know what to do? Here are some tips that will help you get started. This Michigan Garden Moment is brought to you by migardener.com. With over 450 varieties of heirloom and organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents a pack. Find out more at migardener.com. Canning is a science, and you must follow the recipe precisely. Improper canning procedures can lead to bacteria growing on the food that you're canning and can make the people and you sick that consume it, or it can lead to death. So by following the recipe precisely, you'll have no issue. If you're a new canner, we would recommend starting with a pickle recipe. Very easy to make, and it's in a water bath canner, which is the easier of the two mechanisms in which you preserve the food in. You want to find good mason jars. Don't use thin, old mayonnaise jars. They need to say Mason on, whether Ball or Kerr or other brand, but a thick wall mason jar will work fine. You don't have to buy them new. You can find them at thrift stores, yard sales, and a water bath canner, as long as you have at least 2 inches of water above the jar at the time of canning, and some device to keep the canning jar from sitting directly on the bottom of the pot, you'll have no issue. A reputable, safe, certified recipe is what you need, not just some recipe somebody decided to make up in their kitchen. Ball, has great recipes through their website, and there's other magnificent sites that provide safe canning recipes. For pressure canners, we would recommend buying a new one. Now, if you follow the recipe and the instructions correctly, you'll have no issue. But the newer canners have many mechanisms to reduce the pressure if something does go wrong inside.
This Michigan Garden Moment is brought to you by migardener.com. With over 450 varieties of heirloom and organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents a pack. Find out more at migardener.com. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Eco Garden Systems, Row Maker, Shield and Seal, World's Coolest Rain Gauge, Big Fats Hot Sauce, Chapin International, Drip Garden, Norwalk Juicers, Nunu Healing Ointment, Phylum Bioproducts, Soil Savvy, Tree Ripe. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
There's still time to get your garden planted, and you can do it for a fraction of the cost, and that can be done at Blue Mills Landscape and Garden Center. They still have the sale going while supplies last, so get out there. It is buy one, get one free of equal or lesser value of all plant matter. So you can buy a rose, and you can buy a tomato plant, you can buy 2 roses, you can buy a berry bush, whatever. Buy one and get the second plants of equal or lesser value.
You can find Blue Mills at 4930 West Loomis Road, just south of Layton. Call 414-282-4220 or visit bluemills.com.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show.
I listen to your show just about every week, and it's very informative.
Well, we greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
With your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Holly, let's go to the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Hotline and bring in our next guest.
Kevin Espiritu is the founder of Epic Gardening. He founded it in 2013 to help the average person learn how to garden, grow your own food, troubleshoot common garden problems, grow in an urban setting, and more. He does this through social media, YouTube, podcasts, and his website, epicgardening.com.
Welcome to the program, Kevin.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and enlighten us a little bit more about the intensity or the challenges one may face with a urban setting such as yours.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
So we all get into gardening in somehow, some form or fashion. You started it in a very urban setting. How did you get into the garden world, and what was your very first setup like, being in a very restricted urban location?
Sure. So I got into gardening, I guess you could say, late in life. I was 22, I think, and it was just something I did on a whim with my brother. We just wanted to do something outdoors, which is funny because I ended up growing completely indoors. You're talking about my first setup. My first setup was actually a hydroponic system growing cucumbers indoors because I was living in a pretty cramped townhouse that all my outdoor space was facing north, so I really didn't have a lot of sun. And I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and try hydroponic cucumbers as my very first plant.
That's really cool. So I grew up in an urban garden setting in Milwaukee here. What would you say is the biggest challenge people face with urban gardening outdoors?
Outdoors, yeah, I think the biggest challenge is mostly just figuring out how to use your space the right way, because you've got balconies, windowsills, you have some rooftops, you have small patios, and you have to work around a lot of things blocking your access to light, even if you've got a nice south-facing patio. And so, to me, it's figuring out the method to use to grow in your unique space. Because you might have a balcony, but it might be facing the wrong way, or there might be a tree blocking it, and you just have to pick the right plants, pick the right method, and then get going. That's, at least for me, what seems to be the most challenging for people.
Now, I want to go back to the hydroponic system you had with your cucumbers. We'll touch on that in a minute here. Were you growing cucumbers that were self-pollinated, or did you have to physically go in and pollinate the flowers in order to get it, since obviously you didn't have insects inside the apartment?
Yeah, fortunately, I grew a self-pollinating cucumber, but I didn't even know that that's what I was doing at the time because I knew so little about plants that I just picked one from the store. And so, fortunately, I lucked out, but yeah, that would have been a pretty sad mistake to make.
Which it can be done. You can't hand pollinate, but it sure makes it easier when you find a variety that allows or does the job for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think back then I wouldn't have even known that you could have hand-pollinated. So I probably would have just wondered what was going wrong, you know?
Absolutely. So here's a question that we get. How can one deal with getting rid of crabgrass? It's a problem that many of us face, and some people choose to use a chemical application, but a lot of people want to try to find more of a natural means of reduction of the crabgrass. What would you suggest?
Yeah, so I've thought about this a lot. I don't have a lawn anymore, but when I did, the only thing that seems to work, because one crabgrass plant can produce 150,000 seeds. So you have to get it out in late winter, early spring.
Otherwise you got a problem.
Otherwise you're done for, yeah. If you let it get seed, you're absolutely done. But you got to dig it out, the little clumps, early in spring or late in winter, and it kind of is like a 3-year project, because the seeds are viable in the soil for about 3 years. So if you just keep at it and you dig a clump out, you know, a couple clumps a day out or something like that, eventually you'll be clear of it. That's your best non-chemical solution. Other than that, I don't really know what to say, because if you don't get the roots out, you're kind of done for.
And with those chemical applications, with, let's say, the glyphosate, it does kill the roots, but also it will toxify the soil as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're looking to have a more organic or natural approach to your entire space, then I would try to avoid that. You could throw something like corn gluten meal down, which is a suppressant, but you're still going to have to do some digging out.
Okay. Now, we have a dwarf lime tree that we keep indoors year-round. We are reviving it from an attack of scale. What is scale, and what are some good ways to combat it, deal with it, hopefully get rid of it?
So scale is a tricky one, because I think it's one of the few pests that sometimes doesn't look like a pest. It could look like a disease, because there's just such a variety of species. So the thing that I always do, if it's early and you only have a few, you can use like cotton swabs with rubbing alcohol and just kind of get them off that way with a little hand care. If it's a more serious one, you can actually try washing the whole plant, which can sometimes work. But then there's definitely varieties of scale that are very, very affixed, because once the scale, the young scale, just attaches to the part where they're going to be, they never leave. In fact, sometimes they lose their legs, and they just adhere, and it's hard to get them off. So it's one of those like armored varieties, lays kind of flat. You almost have to give them a little scrape to get them off, and then from there, you just have to make sure that you're clear of all of them, because they can reproduce extremely, extremely quickly. Another thing you could do is you could use like a horticultural soap, or you could use a neem oil and completely smother them. So if you can completely cover, then they can't breathe, and then they'll die that way. But that can be a little tricky to do as well. They're a tough one to deal with.
Yeah, it seems like you almost have them beat, and then they come back. You think, oh, I got it, and then you come back, and they're there again. So yeah, it's a struggle, but a fight that I think we are winning.
I hope so. Yeah.
You are in an urban setting. We've talked about that, and people who follow you on social media will see that you grow in a lot of elevated gardens. Now, was that by choice, because there was no other means, because you don't have a yard, or if you had the opportunity to have a yard, would you have grown in the ground?
Yeah, so I think if I had more space, I would definitely grow in the ground, and there's actually a patch in my front yard that I did in-ground potatoes this year. I have an in-ground salsa garden going on right now. I like to showcase as many different methods as possible in my own garden. And so part of what I do is to show that you can do other things, right? Grow in a vertical system, or grow in a very tall raised bed, or use different types of designs. So yeah, if it was just my garden and I was just at my house doing it myself, I would probably experiment with a lot of in-ground stuff, but I do like to show, okay, you can use this metal raised bed, you can use a vertical stacking system, you can grow in grow bags. A lot of it is to showcase different methods.
And with those elevated garden beds and the raised beds and the grow bags, what is your method of revitalizing the soil each year? Obviously, in a giant raised bed like the Eco Garden system, you're not going to remove all the soil and put new, fresh soil in. So how do you go about revitalizing that soil each year for the new planting season?
Yeah, so what I'll do is typically in the larger raised beds like the Eco Garden system, or just my normal 3-foot by 4-foot raised beds, I'll usually just add some of my homemade compost on top, and then I'll get a soil test every year and just make sure that I'm not drastically high or low in anything, because you can definitely over-amend your soil. And then when I'm planting, I'll also do a little amendment in the planting hole depending on the plant. But for the most part, the revitalization comes from that 1/2 inch to 1 inch of compost that I add every time I change out the bed.
Now, you're mixing that in, or are you just top dressing?
Yeah, for the most part, I just top dress it, and then I'll apply a little mulch over the top of that.
Okay. So I think no matter where you live, if you have an urban setting or a larger setting, we all deal with aphids, and aphids are basically the tick of the garden world. They do suck the lifeblood out of the plants. What are some of the best ways that you use to deal with aphids?
Yeah, so I try as best as I can to not spray a lot in my garden. I think I've only sprayed once this year, and I used Safer brand soap, which is probably my favorite all-purpose. So that'll help with aphids quite a bit because it has these like potassium salts that kind of dissolve away the tissues of the aphids and just sort of kill them, which is really nice. But with aphids, one thing that you can do is if you catch them early, you can actually just kind of blast them off the plant because once they're off, they're not like crawling all the way back up. Usually. So that's what I like to do. I like to just kind of give my plants a little blast with like the fan setting on a hose. That can work pretty well. You could use the Safer brand soap. You could use neem oil. Another thing you could do, a lot of people will say like release lacewings or release ladybugs. I've tried and it doesn't work that well because they need to have an ecosystem to support them. So if you just release them, usually they'll eat aphids for a little bit and then fly away. So the longer-term solution is to plant a lot of pollinator attractors, and then you'll start to build that bug ecosystem in your garden that as soon as aphids build to a certain critical mass, all the predators will notice and come eat it, which has really worked out for me this year, but that's definitely a longer-term solution.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people, they hear, oh, I'll buy ladybugs, and then the problem that you addressed, they stay for a while, and then they go find somewhere where they can actually live. They just don't visit your garden. You want them to create a habitat there, which is always a difficult portion because of the size one's garden may be.
Right. Yeah. So if you're an urban gardener, especially if you've got a balcony or a patio at most, then it's really difficult to create a ladybug habitat there. So releasing them is a super short-term solution that you might as well just take some horticultural spray and use that. It's effectively doing the same thing.
And if it gets too out of control, the answer can sometimes be extract the plant and start over.
Yeah. Sometimes if it's too bad, like that happened to some of my kale early this year. I just said, you know what, I guess I'm just going to plant some more kale and restart because this one's got decimated.
Definitely. Sometimes that's just what you got to do. So Kevin, how do we find out more about you and about your website and all that good information?
Yeah, sure. So everything besides my book is called Epic Gardening. So the website is Epic Gardening. The podcast is every single day. It's 5 to 10 minutes, Epic Gardening Podcast. And then on Instagram and YouTube and all those, it's just Epic Gardening. The only thing, like I said, that's different is my book, which is called Field Guide to Urban Gardening. And that can be found on Amazon. That can be found on my store or anywhere books are sold, I think, like Barnes & Noble, all those places.
Well, Kevin, we greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to join Holly and myself on the program and sharing some of your gardening wisdom with all of us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's fun talking to you guys.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's your garden questions and our garden answers. You can always send us an email at twvgshow@gmail.com. You can always visit the website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and you're listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show.
Send your questions in now to the IV Organics 3-in-1 Plant Garden Instant Access text hotline at 414-368-9311. That number again, text 414-368-9311 and send your garden question in.
The number one key to healthy, productive plants are the roots. Starting from seed to full-grown plants, rootmaker.com has the answer. From seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots, creating a fabulous root system, never again will you have root-bound plants, to multiple gallon grow bag sizes to raised beds. Rootmaker.com has your grow needs covered. Visit rootmaker.com.
Pharmaceuticals essential oils are high grade, very pure, and high in quality. They have synergized blends made with the finest raw materials. For more information and to order, visit dharmaceuticals.com.
The new way to support your tomatoes. Wrap it and snap it. Tomatosnaps.com.
Spending time scrubbing pesky dirt off your hands after gardening? Use Workman's Friend Superior Skin Cream with added barrier protection, creating a protective layer on your skin surface, allowing for easy cleanup, all while moisturizing and healing your skin. Non-greasy, fragrant-free, and fast-absorbing. Apply first, get to work, wipe clean. This friend has you covered for whatever you're getting into. Visit workmansfriendbrand.com. Take the pain out of planting with the Pro Plugger 5-in-1 planting tool. Step, twist, pull, and you're ready to plant. Digs perfect size planting holes. Soil gets stored in the tube and empties from the top. Helpful for weeding. ProPlugger.com.
Never question your garden soil again. Know what's in your soil with confidence. Professional grade soil test for the home gardener. My Soil Savvy has the easiest soil test on the market. Ship it to them, get your report, emailed with nutrients recommendation, and grow happy, healthy plants. MySoilSavvy.com. Use coupon code TWVG19 and save 10% at checkout.
Do you have a problem with deer or small herbivores eating your vegetation? There is a natural solution that is safe for your pets and family. Bobex is the answer. An environmentally friendly solution to protect your plants, will not wash off, and is guaranteed. Bobex Deer was independently tested against 9 known competitors and rated 93% effective, second only to a physical barrier. Bobex can be used on all types of ornamentals, trees, and shrubs. Ask for it by name at your local independent garden center. Find out more, visit bobex.com. BOBBEX.com.
Big Fats has a variety of unique and delicious hot sauces available in mild, medium, and hot. A small company looking to change the world with all natural hot sauces made from quality ingredients and a whole lot of love. BigFatsHotSauce.com.
Blue Mel's Garden and Landscape Center offers an awesome selection of high-quality garden and landscape products. We have just the plants you're looking for: annuals, perennials, veggies, herbs, and more. Plus, you can always count on us to answer all of your questions and offer expert advice. Blue Mel's also carries the largest selection of bulk landscape materials in the area. Enjoy a beverage from our coffee shop while your kids run around in our huge playground. Join our growing list of highly satisfied customers. Visit the garden center that offers everything you're looking for. Visit Blue Mel's today.
Blue Mel's, 4930 West Loomis Road, 414-282-4220. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is brought to you by the following: Clyde's Vegetable Planting Chart, Dharmaceutical, Dr. Earth, Flame Engineering, Handy Safety Knife, Hydrobox, Wisconsin Greenhouse Company, M.I. Gardner, Outpost Natural Food Co-op, Rootmaker, Soil Diva, Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center. Find all sponsors at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com and thank them for their support.
Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Hallie Baird.
You got a question, you can certainly get a hold of us through the Ivy Organic hotlines.
Ivy Organic 3-in-1 Plant Guard naturally protects your plants against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents, protects newly installed plants and trees, shield, prune, and damaged surfaces for use on your roses, fruit, nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. This product is non-toxic and environmentally safe and organic. For more information, visit ivyorganics.com. You can send us an email through the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant email inbox. That email address is twvgshow.com at gmail.com. You can also send us a text to the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Instant Access Text Hotline. That is 414-368-9311.
Hi there. I have a question for you. I have what is called slime mold. I had to Google it to find the name. It grew in yellow hard foam piles on the side of my raised beds. I left it alone, and it looked like it was going to die, but I have now mold growing on the stalks of my radishes and beets beneath the greens. Is this affecting the plants? Do I need to pull them up and toss them? Or, as Google says, and we know how Google is accurate all the time, Google says it is harmless. What should I do? Teresa from St. Francis, Wisconsin, writes in on that one.
Well, thank you for the question, Teresa. Yes, you can. It's not harmful to humans. It's not harmful to plants unless it gets on the leaves.
Because it's going to choke out.
It's going to choke out. It's going to choke. It's not like it's going to cause huge issues like from a physiology standpoint, but it is going to choke out the photosynthesis process. So usually it clears itself up within a couple of days. If you continue to have that problem, you might want to move, if you have mulch on those plants, you might want to remove that away from the plants and let it kind of dry out in that area because it's a fungus. It's because of a lot of moisture. If you want to kill it, you can spray it with a combination of 1 tablespoon of baking soda mixed in very well with 1 gallon of water.
Here's a canning question for you, Holly. You're a multi-award winning Wisconsin State Fair canner. No matter how hard I try, my peaches float in the jars, even when I pack tightly. Any suggestions?
Sure. Floating is normal no matter how tight you pack your items, but some floating will occur, and it's okay. Overripe fruit typically would float because the acid and pectin content is lower, so you want to make sure you're using fresh fruits. Otherwise, there is air that remains in the tissue of many fruits after processing, and so that's why it would float.
And that's no matter how tightly packed you can get them, you're still going to have that issue.
And especially, you do want to tightly pack your jars, but you don't want to jam it in there. You want to be able to have the liquid so that it goes around the
submerges, and then also you want to have the proper head space in order to do that correctly as well. You may lose some of that liquid in the canning process, but you want to go ahead and do that. Alan asked, what are some good ideals for getting rid of mugwort without resorting to an inorganic means?
So mugwort is actually a weed. It can be a very invasive weed that grows.
What weed's not invasive?
It grows typically in ditches. It likes a lot of moisture.
And that's what we've had in our gardens.
And that's what we've had
in a lot of places this year.
Especially in a ditch in that low-lying area where moisture is going to pool. So you have to combat it as soon as you start to see it. So in the early spring or even in the late fall, what you can do is you would want to use an organic weed killer, and those do exist.
BioSafe
right.
Has that, yes.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you want to weed it out, and as soon as possible before that moisture can happen.
Just do not pull the weed. Get the root system and everything out of that root system possible, because that if you just rip the top off, those are going to regenerate new plants very, very quickly. Dear Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, I saw on your YouTube channel about saving onions and shallot seeds, and I have a question about my shallot seeds. I had a small bed that I planted last year, about 20 bulbs. This spring I harvested them and left 2 plants to go to seed. The flowers have formed this globe-like flower, but when I open the flower, I don't see the black seeds that were indicated in the video. In each of the tiny flowers, I see several tiny seeds. Some are tiny. Those tiny flowers have opened up, and those tiny, tiny seeds are inside the flowers. Are those the seeds that I need to save, or should I wait longer? Evan from New York. Well, Evan, here's the answer. Yes, those flowers will produce seeds. You're very early in the process right now. You will need to let the plant go to full maturity, die back, and then those seeds will be black in the head of the flower, and you can save those seeds. But you want to let the plant completely go through its life cycle in order to do the maturity of the seeds. If you harvest them too early, they're not going to be viable. And you want to catch them just as they're drying. Once the plant dies back, you can capture the head of the flower in a paper bag and let it dry, and those seeds you can plant next spring, and you'll have shallots. How can we hold on to the pollinators in which we have? What are some techniques and plants in which we can grow? So let's go to Ben. He is the farm property manager at Standard Process. Standard Process is your trusted whole food supplement manufacturer for over 90 years. To help identify the best supplements for you, find your local healthcare professional today. Go to standardprocess.com/patient.
Hi, this is Ben Bartlett with the Standard Process Organic Farm. We often get questions about what is the best way to encourage pollinators to stay in your yard. We do a couple of things here on the farm that will work in your garden. The first thing to do is to dedicate a small percentage of your garden or your lawn to something like perennial flowers or native grasses. That provides food and homes for those pollinators. Keep in mind it's not just bees, it can be wasps and flies and many other insects that pollinate your plants. The second thing to do is let those garden veggies grow and go all the way to flower. Something like a broccoli flower is actually going to provide some food for those pollinators in the off season. The last thing to do is to seek out native plants to plant around the edges of your yard, and don't spray out those weeds like the dandelions that provide so much important food really early in the season. Doing these things is going to help improve habitat and help you keep pollinators in your yard, which will benefit not just you, but your neighbors as well.
Before we get into what's coming up next week on the program, Holly, remind them about the executive sponsor.
The executive sponsor of the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is Power Planter. Planting conditions are always favorable with the Power Planter Earth Auger. No matter what the job is, Power Planter has the right size for you. Simply attach to a drill and let the Power Planter do the work for you. Create planting holes fast and efficiently with ease. No matter the soil type, it does the job effortlessly. Increase your root to soil contact. Leave the shovel and spade in the shed. Hand welded and made in the USA, we offer a lifetime warranty on product defects. Find the size that fits your project at powerplanter.com.
Tune in next week on the program. We're going to talk about weeding, a job that nobody likes, but we're going to go over the techniques in which you need to weed as well as maybe not to weed as much. And understanding the science behind composting, what really goes on in that compost pile. Our guest, it'll be our own Holly Baird, multi-award-winning canner. We're going to talk about safe canning. Missed any portion of this program or want to revisit it in its entirety, you can do that in a couple of different ways. One, by going to your favorite podcast-providing website and searching the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. You can also go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, clicking on the radio tab at the top of the page for full length, or the highlight tab on the right-hand side for segments of all past shows. Until next week, for Holly Baird, I'm Joey Baird, and we will see you in the garden.
You have been listening to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Tell a friend and join Joey and Holly again next week so we can all grow together. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show is a production of the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com in association with WI Garden Media Broadcasting, live from the WNOV 860 AM and the W293CX 106.5 FM, Courier Communication Studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.